This is the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show, a weekly broadcast that breaks down each Eagles game better than anyone else. The Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show is broadcasting live from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken and is heard on both 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM and is brought to you by SEPTA, Fogo de Chão, the Great American Pub, Independence Blue Cross, and Grand Café L'Aquila. We now go live to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
And welcome, everybody, to the WBCB Monday Night Kickoff here, presented by Independence Blue Cross from the beautiful Great American Pub in Conshohocken, PA. We are at a depressed state as far as many fans go on a Monday night looking back in an Eagle game, but that's what we're here to do, is look back at the game, and we're going to do that tonight with our co-host, Mr. Paul Domowitch. Domo, congratulations on your daughter Allison getting married this weekend.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Your wife Shelley's here tonight.
Yeah.
The game didn't ruin the weekend, I hope.
No. Well, it might have. I shouldn't say it did for her. She's a big Eagles fan, but I think she shrugged it aside and got married anyway. Yeah,
you survive with one marriage in your life, and then that's terrific. We got a great guest tonight also. He was the Eagles' #1 draft choice in 1995 out of Boston College. Played defensive end for Ray Rhodes and Andy Reid when he started his Eagle career. He's now in title insurance, successful in the corporate world. Looks like he could still play. We welcome Mike Mamula to our show. How are you, Mike?
Hello, Pauls.
Pauls, here we are.
That's right.
Mike, I always joke around that I'm Jewish. And by the way, happy holidays, everybody. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, whatever it is you celebrate. Kwanzaa, Happy New Year. My religion made up a word that pretty much describes last night's game in a nutshell for anybody involved all over the world, no matter what religion you are, and that word would be oi.
Oi cave. Yeah, it was no bueno.
What were your first impressions of the game last night? We all know what happened, obviously.
They played well enough to win 5% of the time, and it's not going.
Fumbled.
And it's not. Yeah, and then they fumbled.
Yeah.
And there was. First half, obviously, it was very slow, and they just seemed like they were exhausted. Second half, the defense seemed like they got re-energized, but then, just bad stuff kept on happening.
Those 3 turnovers were just brutal.
Kill you.
Dallas clearly went into that game deciding they were going to be physical. They were stripping the ball, but they were also hitting pretty hard. It seemed to have an effect on Devontae a little bit.
Yep.
And the defense was, that's their fatal flaw. Third down defense, they can't get off the field.
Well, their back 7 can't play right now. Yeah. They're just new guys. Zach Cunningham coming off an injury, and Shaq Leonard. By the way, the Eagles, Damo, a little irrelevant grammatical point of the day. The Eagles have 2 guys named Darius on their defense. Neither one wants to be called Darius. Darius Slay, who wants to be called Slay, and Darius Leonard, who changed his name to his middle name, Shaq.
Yeah.
What's the deal with that?
Got me, it worked for Hootie. He likes it.
Yeah, Darius Rucker, yeah. But last night, Mike and Paul, to me, one image stands out over everything else. We're going to talk about everything that happened, the play calling, the systems, the scheme, take a look around the NFL at some other stuff that happened, but a light on this one. But the one thing that's overcoming every other thing I talk about, guys, the coaching was terrible last night. I think everybody would agree with that. But in this city, and I'm sure all towns where there's a huge passionate fan base, it's not about the coaching at this level. When you get harpooned like that, it's about the players, Mike, isn't it? Coaching and systems matter. Players play, and that's what decides the game, in my opinion.
I agree, and like as I was alluding to earlier, they just came out flat. They came out flat, and I don't know who's there to get them going. And it seems like it's the first half every game this year they come out flat.
Oh, let me ask you that. You come out flat, and obviously the first half they've been behind 6 games in a row at halftime now. Analytics is screw analytics. You take the ball. You win the toss, you take the ball. I don't care what any analytics says, and I'll debate the mathematics of that with anybody who wants me to. How do you come out flat for a Dallas game? We know they've been through this gauntlet and the division and the 1 seed, put it all in the blender. You played 6 years, Mike. How do you come out flat for this game? National TV, everything?
That's a head scratcher. But there were a couple really good plays. You forgot about the fake punt.
Fake punt was
that was amazing.
Yep.
And Carter's first touchdown was incredible.
Yep.
and he looked very exhausted after he ran that in
42 yards.
42 yards. So
Yep.
there was a couple positives that came out of that game.
A couple positives. There were a couple positives that came out of World War II, Damo, also.
Yeah. I mean, the early penalties just seem to interrupt their rhythm a lot.
And then the fumbles also didn't help.
The fumbles were just, I mean, you can't.
Those are hard to overcome.
And all of them were in Cowboy territory. I mean, all of those.
2 in the red zone.
All of those potentially could have been touchdowns. So. But in my mind, though, it gets back to this. I mean, we're looking at a defense that's just not good enough. They're not. I cannot see how this team could get to a Super Bowl with a defense that's given up on third down percentage right now of nearly 50%.
I was asked about that a few times today. I never played defensive end in the NFL. Mike Mamula did. And you can scheme whatever you want, stunt-wise, game-wise. Eagles obviously are not a great blitzing team. They give up way too much on the back end. But, Mike, as a defensive end, Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick had a couple sacks, not Sweat. When you're man up against whoever, your left tackle, right tackle, Tyson Smith, getting to the quarterback is way more about you than about scheme, isn't it?
Well, that's what it is. And really the whole defense is and the offense are one-on-one battles. So, I mean, that's what really boils down to. And I mean, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And last night, obviously, it did not work.
Yeah. I mean, they harped on Collinsworth and Tirico on the broadcast, mentioned a lot about the change in their offense, what they've gone to the West Coast, getting the ball out quicker, shorter routes, which all works against the Eagles' pass rush. I looked at the numbers this morning on how fast Dak was getting it out compared to the 28-23 game where he was sacked 5 times by the Eagles. Much faster. I mean, even if they were effective with their pass rush yesterday, he was getting it out. So.
By the way, before we get to that, did you hear the Tirico Harry Callis story over the weekend? Mike Tirico, you guys, either one of you know him? One of the great guys in broadcasting
of course.
In this country. Just a superbly nice human being. His roommate in college was Todd Callis, who's Harry's son.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
Does the Tampa Ray games. They asked Mike Tirico, what are the biggest thrills of your life? He goes, well, one of them was right here in Philadelphia. I said, what do you mean? He said, I was here broadcasting some game, some sport, with Todd Callis. I was staying at the Callis's, and I was sitting there eating breakfast. We were having pancakes, and all of a sudden I hear a voice, and you do great voices, Mike. Maybe you do this one. Harry Callis said, could you please pass the syrup there, son? He goes, when someone asked me personally to pass the syrup to Harry Callis, one of the great moments of my life. Tremendous little story, huh?
That's great.
Nice,
You do Harry Callis? You do a good Merrill.
Oh, yeah. No, I am not a Harry Callis impersonator at this point. I have to listen a little bit more.
All righty. Damo, so many things, the adjustments at halftime Sean Desai made. Is a back seven something where if you give it to Bud Carson or Buddy Ryan or you name your D coordinator anywhere, could anybody really make chicken liver out of you-know-what? Or is this back seven just a little bit challenged right now?
I think it's a little bit challenged. I mean, like I said, they almost have to totally rely on that front four to get there. They've tried blitzing. That doesn't work. They didn't blitz hardly at all yesterday. I think 11%. And when they did, they were okay with it. But, I mean, last year with Jonathan Gannon, he didn't blitz, but they didn't give up big plays. I mean, that was his whole mantra.
Don't get behind.
That's not happening with this team. I mean, yesterday they gave up 5 plays at 25 yards or more in the air. I mean, you just can't do that.
Well, let's look at the back seven. I mean, Zach Cunningham coming back off an injury. N'Kobe Dean's hurt, obviously.
Yeah.
Shaq Leonard signed, didn't play a lot in the first half, played more in the second half. Your cornerbacks, Slay and Bradbury, have each lost a step, I think it's fair to say. Father Time taps all of us on the shoulder. Reed Blankenship's the second-year kid who makes some nice plays. He's out of position on some, and Sidney Brown's a rookie.
I mean, in between that and they just brought in a DB, and they also just brought in a linebacker, and you just drop those 2 folks into the mix. I mean, there is a language that is spoken on that defensive side, and who knows if that language is translated properly enough at this point because they're so new.
That's exactly right, Mike. Within that, you got terminology on the defensive part of the ball, obviously offensive as well, but Keely Ringo, for example, who played a lot last night, you step in, he's been here all year, obviously, but how hard is it to assimilate a system, a language, instincts into your game? It doesn't happen overnight, does it?
No. I mean, that's why they have camp, whatever they call that nowadays.
And Sean Desai's getting killed for this, Tomo.
I remember going back a few years to when Todd Bowles was here. It might have been Andy's last year, 2012, and he took over as the defensive coordinator.
Yep.
And basically, what he did was, he simplified everything. They didn't play great, but they played better because at least everybody knew what they were supposed to do. With this defense right now, Mike talked about dropping Byard in there, dropping a linebacker in there. The communication, Byard has talked to people and said, we're not communicating very well because you got new people. Everybody's hesitant. And if you hesitate a split second
you can't
in this
think.
game,
It's not a thinking man's game.
Exactly.
You have to read and react.
Yeah, and so, the first thing I would do if I were right now where Desai is just dumb this thing down as much as possible. But they're doing other things too. They can't tackle right now. They're late. You just don't see the aggressiveness in that unit.
But that was the first half, and again, I was paying attention to it last night. And the second half, they were tackling.
Yeah.
I made notes to myself that this is one of the things that they're not doing right now. Is they're not tackling, and then that completely changed in the second half.
I don't want to get too fatalistic about this, but you also don't want to get too trumped up about a record. 10-3, they are what they are. They're going to make the playoffs. They're probably going to be the division champ. They got a shot at being the number 1 seed if San Francisco gets taken out by the Ravens or obviously stubs their toe in any other game. But there's a guy that the light's shining on, Damo and Mike, a little bit tonight that it wasn't shining on yesterday, and that's Howie Roseman, who's done an unbelievable job, no question about it. Put a roster together that everybody's excited about this year. But Seth Joyner said this morning on WIP that he was fooled by the record. He was fooled by 10-1, about the close scrapes, about the resilience and Jalen coming back and blah, blah, blah. He was fooled by that as to the real who is the defense and who are they really. Does Howie deserve a little bit of scrutiny for what's going on here, Damo?
Well, they've devalued the linebacker position. They've made no secret of that. It's not just this year. They got away with it for a couple of years. When Jim Schwartz was here, Jim, you look back in his past, he had some pretty good linebackers when he was in Tennessee. He gets here, and they just found a way to kind of work around it. And you're seeing that around the rest of the league. Linebacker position isn't being paid well. They're not being drafted high. It's kind of like running back almost. They figure it.
The stepchild of the defense. Huh?
Yeah, the idea is we can find somebody that can work cheap and play in there, and the Eagles have found out that's not necessarily the case. So they're hurt there. They kept Bradbury and they re-signed Bradbury and kept Slay, and both of them last year played well. But there's you reach an age sometimes where suddenly you lose that step, and you're seeing it in both of them. And then the communication.
Mike, it's interesting that Damo says that for you. You were tired because of foot problems, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Your body started to betray a little bit. You only played 6 years in the NFL. You were at an age when obviously a lot of guys were in their physical prime, but you didn't want Father Time to tap you on the shoulder. You wanted to be healthy and be able to play with your kids and everything in life, which is a good thing. How hard was it to make that decision for you? And did you see Father Time tap other people who didn't want it to?
I just was realistic about it because, I still am. I'm 240 pounds, 245 pounds. And at that weight, if you're not as fast as you can be, you're not going to survive. And that foot was definitely going to prohibit me from being that person. So I knew that. And then it was really godsend after all this stuff with the concussion stuff came out. Right after, I think the following year is when Corey Stringer, I believe, passed during camp, and everything changed after that.
Yeah.
So, I dealt with those 6 years of training camps that were just crazy.
Yeah, we'll look at this game. We'll look at much, much more about it. I got a question about the coin toss, which is ridiculous, but I feel very strongly about it. I want to ask Damo and Mike what they think. We're going to take a look at every angle of this game, take a look at every side of the NFL, take a look at the double Monday night game tonight, which neither one's very exciting. Saturday games start this week. For those of you who don't get enough football, this is the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show right here on WBCB and 107.3 FM from the beautiful Great American Pub in Conshohocken. We are back right after this. Stay with us, folks.
The Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
I'm always striving to live my healthiest life, so I need a health plan that has my back. With Independence Blue Cross, I get access to the largest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free virtual doctor visits 24/7. Plus, with premiums as low as $0 per month, I can stay on top of my health and keep my budget in check. Independence has given me coverage I can count on, and they'll do the same for you. Explore your coverage options and enroll today at ibx.com.
Pests are a year-round problem, but it only seems to elevate in the fall. Thankfully, termite proofing and pest control can help you out. TPPC will help you get rid of household pests like spiders, bed bugs, roaches, and mice. TPPC only uses EPA-approved material applied by licensed technicians. Call them today at 215-639-5455. Again, that number, 215-639-5455 for termite proofing and pest control of the Delaware Valley.
Dion Square, located at South Oxford Valley Road and South Olds Boulevard, is a great place to shop and eat with the following businesses ready to serve you: the AutoZone, PA Wine and Spirits, CVS Pharmacy, the Hair Cuttery, Nationwide Insurance, Liberty Auto Tags, Smile Culture Dental, the First National Bank and Trust Company of Newtown, Lee's Hoagie House, and Pat Dion Beverages.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
All righty, welcome back to the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show live from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Don't forget you can watch the show live at WBCBSports.com and YouTube Live by searching WBCB Sports. You can search for analytics, you can search for mathematics to explain a lot of things in life. But any mathematical equation you like has to take today's scenario into account. And when you look at the Eagles team, scored in their first drive 9 times last year. They have Jalen Hurts. They've been behind. They got whacked last week by San Francisco. Damo, this is nothing I'm saying new. This has been all year. But it's highlighted by the situation now. They've been behind many games. Obviously, you got to play 4 quarters to win. But you win the toss. Take the friggin' ball. Get ahead 7-0. Why are we worried about the second half when the first half has defined so many games for this team?
I couldn't disagree with you more.
Okay, disagree then.
I mean, yesterday was the first time their opponent scored on their first possession in 9 games.
I'm not worried about the opponent scoring. I'm worried about us scoring.
They've shut them down 8 previous times, and I think and then they get the ball back to start the third quarter. I mean, last year they used the same strategy, and they outscored teams in the first half by 121 points.
They did. And this year they're not.
Well, this year they're not because their defense isn't playing as well.
I agree with you.
And their offense is sluggish, not just on their first possession, but a lot of times for much of the first half. So, I don't understand why you disagree with the strategy.
Because inherently it makes no sense to me if you have an offense that can score. I mean, I want to be ahead. I want to take a 7-0 lead, and I want to say to the other team, come catch me. I don't want to catch them. I understand that there's numbers that can back you up. There's also numbers that don't. Mike, you're a title insurance guy now. You worked in corporate America for 20 years. You know numbers and how they can lie or tell the truth. What are your feelings on this particular equation?
I just hope Sirianni is listening to you. Because you know what? He'll make you and maybe half the 50% of the fan base happy.
That's right.
That's true no matter what you do. That's the part about being a head coach. If you run the fake punt, the gamblers are happy. If you don't, the traditionalists who have their head on the pillow.
The house is happy.
That's right, the house is happy.
It's not just Nick. I mean, most of the coaches in the league defer.
And I disagree. I don't care if all of them do. I'll never be led by a majority of what they do. To me, it's just wrong.
Yep.
And it is what. But anyway, you got to play 4 quarters, or it doesn't matter. They're getting behind. What's the biggest reason that the Eagles have been behind at halftime 6 games in a row? Is it, as Mike said, they're starting out flat? Is it that their game plan is poor? Is it that their play calling is too simple? And it looks like the adjustments at halftime have moved the dial in most of the games. What's the biggest reason you can think of, Domo?
I mean, their offense just is this year has taken a while to get going. They've been behind at the half 6 games in a row. There is a combination of not playing very good defense, but I mean this team was built. When you look at the fact that they've gotten an explosive pass rush and an offense that last year was, I think, 3rd in the league in scoring. This year about the same. Their whole approach was, we're going to jump out, get the lead, and teams are going to have to chase us. And then when they're behind, we can just pin our ears back and rush the quarterback.
Mike,
and that's not happening.
I think you would agree, and tell me if you don't, that one of the objects of football is to fool the other team. You got a chess match with the offensive defense coordinator, head coaches. A lot of people are saying, and I think fairly, that the Eagles' offense is too simplistic, that they got great players, and they have a limited number of things they do to get a back in the secondary, to get a Devontae or AJ or Dallas Goedert, who was back last night. Is it complex enough for you? Do you see not enough?
I don't see a lot of crazy different type of formations and things that you see from some of the other teams out there, and I don't know what it looks like compared to last year. But I mean, obviously they have both new coordinators that are brand new, and it's a first-year system as well. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's something that is they've gone through 70% of the playbook. Maybe there's another 30% there that they're saving for the last 6 games or 5 games.
And Charlie, we've talked about this before. Teams like last year, I mean, Jalen, his ability to run the ball is clearly creates problems for defense.
They called one right out of the gate last night.
Well, I mean, defensive coordinators spent the offseason looking at this offense and trying to figure out what do we need to stop to slow it down. And one of the top priorities was stopping Jalen. So the adjustments they have made with respect to stopping him, plus his, the bone bruise he's had with his knee that slowed him down to the point where, I mean, he just wasn't going to run as much. I mean, I think yesterday was the first time in a while that we've actually seen him be aggressive as a runner. Unfortunately, it was an 11-yard run at the tail end of that he fumbles.
Yep.
So I mean, if not for those fumbles and this is a closer game, we wouldn't be talking as much about the offensive problems. But between that and you saw physicality from the Cowboys yesterday their defense that you didn't see in the first game.
Well, I saw a guy named Stephon Gilmore, who was a Defensive Player of the Year 4 years ago for New England, simply own A.J. Brown this entire game. A.J. had decent numbers, but really didn't do anything except drop the ball near the goal line. He's a tremendous receiver. Do we give enough credit, Mike, to the other team? I mean, it seems like we look at the Eagles or whoever you're a fan of, and depending upon what your team did or didn't do, the other team's on the field doing what they can too, aren't they?
Yeah, and you saw exactly what they did in the last half dozen games. They're playing a lot better. Yep. I mean, I was one that thought that Dak was due for something flat, and he came out and he's throwing it right where it needed to be. And again, Jalen was doing the same thing, but he was only doing it 15% of the time. But they were playing very, very good football.
What's your basic stance, both you guys, on? I tweeted yesterday at the beginning of the game, and it's not my knee, obviously. Jalen's got a bad knee, depending, bone bruise, pain level is whatever it is. He's got to be him. Jalen is great because he's Jalen. And if you take an element out of his game, obviously that limits it. Now, you have to limit it in some way. If you physically can't do something, a coordinator or a coach has to take that into account. But to me, it's going to be something, Damo, that he's just going to have to play through pain. You got to call running plays. You can't limit Jalen because that limits your team. And if he simply can't take it physically, that's one thing. But if he can, I think you got to go with him and run the ball and expand your offense that way. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think they've tried to change him.
He's run much less.
No, he actually hasn't.
Called plays?
Called plays. I mean, last year, how many? I don't know how many were designed and how many were scrambles. You add the tush push this year, you've got a ton of. He's actually on going into Sunday's game. I think his carry pace was actually more than last year when he ran more than any quarterback in the league. But they're not trying to change him. I mean, they know that Brian Johnson, who was a running quarterback himself when he played in college, they know how important Jalen's legs are to this offense and to what makes Jalen great.
Mike, we always hear about running quarterbacks. As a defensive lineman, obviously you got a million different kinds of quarterbacks who can do a million different kinds of things. How does it inhibit your pass rush or the mentality that you're using to get to the quarterback to know that if that guy escapes, it could be a big play?
Yeah, it's one of the things you prepare for during the week. You have a handful of quarterbacks that run, and you have to stay in your rush lanes, the whole thing, and you want to really try to do things more intricate, try to go inside more, but you got to kind of focus on that outside rush to make sure that you're keeping him inside of you. And then once you're there, it's he can move his feet and it creates all kinds of different problems.
All right, another thing to ask you, Mike. You're lining up, and it's 4th and 1, and you're facing the Eagles somehow in some mythical mindset that you're creating, and they're lining up for the tush push. Mike Mamula, 245, 250-pound defensive end, facing these behemoths, and apparently the special secret sauce that they add that nobody else can add. What does the team do against this that you could think of?
I don't know. I think there's a lot bigger football minds that are trying to figure that one out than myself. But it's great to watch. I can't believe that they're the only ones that are perfecting it the way they do.
And it's a shame. The league wants to do away with it. I know it's different, and I know everybody says it looks like rugby. Well, so what? People watch rugby.
That's how, what's his name? Allen got pushed into the end zone yesterday. Yeah. Same kind of scrum type of thing. I don't see how they could get rid of it because it's not a competitive advantage. You have the exact same amount of players, and every team could do the same thing.
And you're seeing some teams do kind of a version of it, or
until it doesn't work.
And they're not. They don't practice it like the Eagles do. It's going to be this is going to be a big issue during the off season because there is going to be a movement by some teams. Supposedly Goodell is against it.
Goodell would never say that. He would never say that in public unless he knew he had a majority of owners behind him. He's very calculating.
Well, first the competition committee has to recommend, and a lot's going to depend on whether they think the competition committee changes rules most of the time because of injuries, for player safety, and there haven't been that many.
No, it's like you're wrestling.
Yeah,
it's not like you're running full speed into another individual.
The Giants apparently, they tried it. I want to say about a month and a half ago in a game, and actually their tight end and a lineman both got hurt on the same tush push play. But that's the Giants. That's their kind of. That's what's happening to them.
Let's not pretend they aren't human beings making these decisions. Competition committee has a member from the Giants, a member for the Cowboys, a member for the Commanders, a jealousy toward the Eagles, and no member toward the Eagles. They're going to recommend this, and this is going to get overturned this year. If I was betting even money right now, I'd bet a large amount of money that's going to get overturned in the offseason.
Could be. A lot of people thought it was going to get they were going to outlaw it after last season.
I was surprised they didn't.
The competition committee decided not to recommend anything on it. Again, they're going to have to come up with a better reasoning than they just don't like it. They're going to have to show some injury numbers, and like Mike just said, there aren't a lot of them. I don't think that's an excuse that they can use to outlaw it.
All right, Mike, when we come back, we're going to talk about some referees and some decisions made in the NFL. My roommate in college was an offensive tackle named John McInerney at Penn, and John said something that we've all heard. John said, how many plays did you hold on in your career? He said, every single one. How many plays did you get held on in your career? Were you held on every single play? Could the ref call holding? Obviously every play, but just looking at you and whoever you're going up against, is it 100%? Does it depend on how good the guy is at it, where he keeps his hands?
It depends how close I got to him. If I got close enough, he was holding.
There we are. Some weird stuff happened yesterday with the referees in the NFL. We'll talk about officiating in the NFL. To me, too much is made of it. Every game, every play, we should have got this call. Shut up. Officials are part of the game. Live with it. It's going to be bad sometimes. Andy Reid, that goes to you. I love Andy Reid, Damo, but he looked like a fool last night saying what he said. We'll come back with the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff from the Great American Pub and examine what happened to Kadarius Toney and where did he line up. Pretty simple. Offsides. Right after this.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
Millions of Americans are losing their medical assistance or Medicaid coverage. If this affects you, Independence Blue Cross can help. You may be eligible to enroll in a health plan for as little as $0 a month. With Independence Blue Cross, you get the largest provider network in the area, including most Keystone First doctors and hospitals. We also offer free 24/7 telemedicine, coverage for hospital stays and prescriptions. See if you qualify for $0 health insurance and enroll today. Call Independence Blue Cross at 1-844-464-2583 or visit ibx.com/staycovered.
The cooler weather has its pest problems such as spiders, bed bugs, roaches, and mice. These problems can be fixed easily and inexpensively with termite proofing and pest control. Call now at 215-639-5455. That's 215-639-5455 for termite proofing and pest control of the Delaware Valley.
Dion Swear, located at South Oxford Valley Road and South Olds Boulevard, is a great place to shop and eat with the following businesses ready to serve you: the AutoZone, PA Wine and Spirits, CVS Pharmacy, the Hair Cuttery, Nationwide Insurance, Liberty Auto Tags, Smile Culture Dental, the First National Bank and Trust Company of Newtown, Lee's Hoagie House, and Pat Dion Beverages.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
All righty, back here at the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. We're going to talk about the officiating, and they overdo it in the NFL. I'm going to go back on my own word and ask Mike and Damo a question where they didn't overdo it. It's happened to the Eagles 3 times now, guys. We saw the thing in Kansas City, and we'll talk about that. But Jason Kelce was mistaken. His hand was mistaken by a ref for Landon Dickerson lining up off sides on the tush push. You look at it in replay, and there's nothing different about that play, Mike, than any other play. They've gotten called on it 3 times. Other than Jason Kelce wearing pink fingernails, what can they do to make sure that doesn't happen again?
Maybe the referees need some glasses.
Yeah.
That would look good.
Yeah. You know, it's basically the same play as the Toney play.
Oh, yeah. Either offsides or you're not.
That's the point of emphasis they made, I think, primarily because of the tush push. But I don't know. You wear something different on your arm so that the ref can,
Jason
the
said
line
he's
judge
gonna have
can
to
tell
do
the
that.
difference between the Kelce's arm and Landon Dickerson's. I don't know. It's weird.
All right, around the league, obviously, problems. First, let me mention Mr. Joe Flacco, my college classmate Steve's son, who played pretty well for Cleveland yesterday. Has been named the starter for the rest of the years. He's still got a cannon of an arm, Damo, at 38. Nothing's wrong with his arm at all.
No, and he's got a 38-year-old mind too. Where
I actually saw him running out of the pocket yesterday a little bit too. How about that?
Yeah,
he's a good athlete. I mean, he's not Lamar Jackson, but damn good athlete.
Yeah, he knows how to buy time.
Yeah, he sure does. In high school, I remember asking Steve one day, obviously you don't know at that point if Joe's going to make the NFL. I said, if Joe makes the NFL, how long does he want to play? He goes, until he's 50. He may.
He's getting there.
He could.
Another 12 years.
All right,
Kadarius. Pension.
Yeah, for sure. Kadarius Toney, notwithstanding, Pat Mahomes went nuts. I think Pat Mahomes, who's obviously a great quarterback, maybe the GOAT, maybe not, but in that discussion, looks pretty foolish today after that childish diatribe he threw last night.
He does, and so does his wife, who went on Twitter and was trolling
Did she really?
The officials. Yeah.
I didn't see that.
I didn't see that either.
I thought, when I looked at initially when they were showing that sideline, I thought he was ran into Tony.
Yeah,
I thought,
too.
because he was sitting there, Tony was like sitting there like all cowering.
Tony was like, I want to be somewhere else right now.
That's the network's fault, by the way, by making all of us think that that's a director screwing up.
Yeah. I don't understand why Mahomes never. It's Reed that I'm mystified at, that he didn't have someone tell him. The tape shows he's clearly outside.
He never says anything after the game. Never mind the holding call in the Super Bowl last year. I mean, if anybody knows that calls sometimes go your way, sometimes they go the other way, and Andy is just a facts man kind of guy.
Well, I think everyone was up in arms just because of the craziness of that play. I mean, that would have went down as one of the best plays in history.
If it was a 5-yard gain,
it
would have been forgotten.
But Tony's the one that scored the touchdown, so he kind of screwed himself.
But the Chiefs talk about it like the refs knew this was going to happen. They knew when we were at the snap that one of the great plays in the history of the NFL was going to occur, and decided not to let it happen.
Well, it was as the officiating expert for CBS clearly explained, they made this a point of emphasis this year. That the coaches knew it. The coaches relayed that to the players. Just because it was late in the game and just because there happened to be a touchdown on the play, you still got to call it. Especially, it was so obvious.
Egregious.
Oh. Yeah, but the one part about this, the one word I think that snicks its way in here is warnings. Did an official, Mike, ever warn you that you were lining up offsides in the neutral zone? Call it where you may. If he said, we're going to call it again if you don't do this. Do players get warnings?
I definitely had gotten a couple warnings while I was playing.
Without getting a penalty called?
Correct.
So is it fair, Damo or Mike, if they didn't warn Tony, who apparently lined up offsides 3 or 4 times earlier? But to me, the simple bottom line, did you line up offsides or not, regardless of what happened in 1952, do they deserve any blame from this for not warning him or any culpability whatsoever?
He should know himself. You look at the play, you look where the receiver on the right side of the line is. It's not even...
No,
not even close. It's like
not hard to line up on side, is it?
And then there was something I saw earlier today that there was a receiver that was too far back on the other side of the line, so either one of those two could have been called.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, you mentioned you were from Buffalo, from Lackawanna, New York, up near Buffalo in western New York. Grew up a Bills fan, I guess. Everybody was wondering, what's Mike Mamula doing today, 25 years kind of after your career? You're going to be 50 soon. What are you doing today, and how are you paying the bills?
Yeah, I work for First Nationwide Title. We're owned by AmTrust Title. We're out of New York, and I'm focusing on commercial real estate title work. So that's what I'm pretty much going after right now.
And you worked with a company for 20-some years?
I worked with this. Yeah, before this I was with a company for almost 20 years and sold that in 19, then took COVID off, and then here we are.
Fred Shero, the great coach of the Flyers when they won their cups, once said, win today and walk together forever. In other words, you guys win today, you'll be Philly icons the rest of your life, won't have to lift a finger. It's been true for a lot of guys like that. You decided to stay in Philadelphia again from Buffalo, went to school in Boston. Why did you stay here after your career?
Philly, it's a no-brainer. Philly's a great place, great people. People actually remind me a lot of the folks that I grew up with in Buffalo. That's why I had the Bills play the Eagles last year. I think the whole city would have burned down.
It could have. Don, were the Bills ever going to win a Super Bowl?
Boy, my son-in-law might be watching, so I'm going to say I sure hope so, because he's a Buffalo Bills fan. So he's from Rochester.
Your fingers are crossed.
No, I mean, it's. I mean, I thought Sean McDermott would get them there. He's gotten them close. It's so ironic that you look at that AFC right now. I mean, they're all up from Andy's coaching tree. You got Sean, who's got to battle Andy. I mean, he's lost to him twice in the playoffs. Now you got John Harbaugh, who won a Super Bowl. But I mean, this year the three of those three teams, if you assume Sean's going to turn this around and get Buffalo back in the playoffs, I think they're capable of making a deep run if they can get that far. I mean, they've had some injuries this year.
Yeah, they have huge problems. I mean,
yeah.
I was watching that game. He was running for his life on every single play. It was crazy.
Yeah.
We've all seen the Buffalo Bills. You saw the Eagle game, the overtime game a couple weeks ago. To me, there's one most impressive member of the Buffalo Bills family. Who is it? Simple as that. It's not going to be who you think it is, at least in my opinion.
I assume you're saying it's not going to be Josh Allen.
It's not a player at all.
Oh, okay.
It's Jessica Pegula. The daughter of Terry Pegula and Kim Pegula, who own the team, could have just sat back and collected her millions or billions and done nothing in life. She's the number 3 ranked women tennis player in the world. I mean, she hadn't won a Grand Slam yet, but to keep that, the work ethic when you got the sperm lottery in your back pocket is not easy, Mike, is it? I don't know if you would know it, but
I wouldn't know it, but maybe you know it.
No, not me. Just seems to me that'd be a hard thing to do.
You're the one who's part of you want 38% of Amazon?
There we are. Yeah.
I think he's fibbing about that. I'm not sure,
but the Bills are one of the teams, Tomo. I mean, we head toward the playoffs. Cowboys got a tough schedule. Eagles likely to win the division. You want to win the 1 seed because that's the only team that gets a bye. Take a look at the NFC, the AFC. Anything strike you about the playoffs? A shocking team that's in flight. I mean, a couple teams in the NFC South. Somebody's going to make it. Somebody else who won't make it. Any surprises?
Well, in the NFC, I think San Francisco. You look at their schedule; they've just got one tough game. Baltimore. I think they're going to end up with that number 1 seed in the NFC. The AFC. Right now, I like Baltimore.
They're playing tough.
Yeah.
Miami's playing tonight. They're right with Baltimore.
How about that finish?
Yeah.
Amazing, right?
Punt return.
Yeah.
I think the Eagles, I don't know why, because I don't bleed green. I'm not one of those people. I think we're going to get the number 1 seed. I really do. And I know it's 41% by ESPN Analytics now, but I got a question for you, Mike, regarding the other team, the Niners. Brock Purdy, a lot of people say, is a system quarterback. He was Mr. Irrelevant, had a nice career at Iowa State, but nothing spectacular. He is a damn good quarterback. I mean, you watch him play. He's not somebody who throws 4-yard screens or slants to Deebo Samuel and watches them run after the catch. He can make every throw in the book, and I think he loves the fact that people think he is a little engine that could, and then he come out and he beats you like yesterday against Seattle. How good do you think he is?
Well, you mentioned the name Deebo Samuel. You saw him be out for, 3 or 4 weeks, and they just dropped off. I think Deebo is actually the heart and soul of that team.
Might be.
For some reason, that guy, when he gets on the field, he's electric.
Yeah.
And I think it's contagious throughout the entire organization.
They also got McCaffrey. They got Kittle. They got Ayuk. Is Deebo the
I think so. Yeah, I mean, you just don't understand how – people don't understand how valuable it is to have a guy as versatile as Samuel. Who could, he's part running back, part wide receiver.
Until he's gone.
They can use it. Yeah, exactly. You can use him in so many different ways, and when he's not out there, it suddenly limits Kyle Shanahan's offense.
All right, we'll see how Kyle Shanahan's offense can do in the next couple weeks. Next couple weeks are interesting to look at in the NFL. When Mike played, they didn't have the flex in the NFL. Of flexing games to Sunday night or whatever. The NFL used a trick that they haven't used a lot before. They had a horrible Monday night game for next week, Kansas City and New England. Obviously, New England took the nasty plunge this year, and they moved that back to Sunday at 1 o'clock and moved the Seattle game to Monday night. In my opinion, Mike, just throwing a big middle finger at the fans of all 4 of those teams. We think about the Eagles because they're here, but middle of holiday season, plane flights, hotels, everything else. I mean, yeah, you'll get a few extra people watching it and a few extra dollars, but is that really necessary in this case? To me, I have a big problem with this flex. Do you?
they're going to make the money any way that they can, and they have all the control. So that's it. I mean, I get what you're saying. There's a lot of people that would probably want to go out there for that game,
or had plans to go out there on Sunday
and be there at the right day.
Yeah. Hi, Mr. American Airlines. I was supposed to fly back Monday. I'd like to make it Tuesday. Well, that's an extra $16 million.
The worst is yet to come.
What's going to happen now?
They will flex the Thursday night game. They considered it this year and did not vote on it. But it's only a matter of time, especially when you look at some of the horrible games that Amazon has had this year. They're going to want to beef up that product because the NFL's,
We got to take a break, Domo, but I got to ask you this before the break. I mean, at what point, obviously, the cheapest NFL team and is worth $5 billion. You saw what they went for in the offseason. Every NFL owner's got $25 million lifetimes for his or her entire family worked out. At what point does making an extra 39 cents take a backseat to actual people? Is that ever going to happen in the NFL?
Not in my lifetime.
Probably not. Mike, yours?
Not in my lifetime either. I don't know. Hopefully I live longer you two.
They do not know the meaning of enough money.
It is absolutely ridiculous. But next Monday night we'll be here. Ray Didinger will be our guest. We'll be here at 6 o'clock next Monday night. The Seattle game, the Monday night game after that. Dave Spadaro will be our guest in 2 weeks. But Don Ohlmeyer, the president of NBC Sports, once said, if the question's about sports, no matter what it is, the answer's money. You just saw it at work flexing the Eagles-Seattle game. We'll talk much more about the Eagles, what they have to do against Seattle, against the Giants twice, and the Jonathan Gannon Bowl to get that number one seed, to get that division championship when we come back with the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff from the beautiful Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Thanks, everybody, for coming out tonight. We're back right after this. Stay with us.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Learn more about your coverage options at ibx.com.
Pests are a year-round problem, but it only seems to elevate in the fall. Thankfully, termite proofing and pest control can help you out. TPPC will help you get rid of household pests like spiders, bed bugs, roaches, and mice. TPPC only uses EPA-approved material applied by licensed technicians. Call them today at 215-639-5455. Again, that number 215-639-5455 for termite proofing and pest control of the Delaware Valley.
Dion Square, located at South Oxford Valley Road and South Olds Boulevard, is a great place to shop and eat with the following businesses ready to serve you. The AutoZone, PA Wine and Spirits, CVS Pharmacy, The Hair Covering, Nationwide Insurance, Liberty Auto Tags, Smile Culture Dental, the First National Bank and Trust Company of Newtown, Lee's Hoagie House, and Pat Dion Beverages.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
All righty, final segment. We're having a good time with Mike Mamula here, Paul Domowitch here. Hopefully everybody's having a nice holiday season. They got the pub all decorated here. Come on down. The food is great, Domo. The atmosphere is terrific, and you can't beat the Great American Pub, can you?
No, you can't. I love the food here.
Yep.
And the environment.
Yep, you like that edamame, huh?
Love the edamame dumplings.
Why do you never see? I've never seen in my life, and I'm not exactly emerald, but you never see edamame in a supermarket, just in a restaurant. What do they do with the stuff that's not sent to restaurants? Does it exist?
No, you see it.
You just got to look for it.
There is edamame?
Yeah, it's in the vegetable section. You probably haven't been there.
Not enough. I no question about that. Guys, Derek Gunn, who we hope to have in this show in future weeks, started a story today that's kind of spreading like wildfire, where some anonymous members of the Eagles locker room talked about the frustration with the route patterns of the offense coordinator, Brian Johnson, and the like. Mike, how much of a distraction could this be at a time where the team could get fractured? They could go either way. I don't think this would be a huge problem, but it could be. And how big a deal is quote-unquote, the locker room to the team as a whole, and that it stays strong during times like this?
Well, I don't think this is going to be a distraction at all. I mean, the things that are said in the media really pretty much swept underneath the carpet. It's just something that, it's white noise. And what they should be doing is circling the wagons, looking at the next game and moving forward.
Yeah. The offense isn't as when you look at this offense compared to even San Francisco's, there's not the same kind of scheming and creativity that you see. But it's, it was third in the league in scoring last year. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are putting up amazing numbers. I don't know what there is to complain about a lot. The last couple of weeks you've seen some situations where people seem to be struggling to get open. Are they blaming that on the route patterns rather than themselves? I don't know. I don't know who's complaining, first of all. Only Derek knows that.
The anonymous part is the part that kind of interests me. Tell them who it is. If somebody doesn't want a comment, go ahead, Mike. Both Damo and I covered the Eagles for a very long time. I attributed things. Damo attributed things. A great writer. When people came to you, to your locker, did you ever say, hey, don't say I said this, but, Mike stinks next door? Did you ever get one of those anonymous quotes?
I was too busy trying to avoid cockroaches in my locker.
You were at the vet.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm confused about, and Derek's one of the best reporters.
He's terrific.
I know. But Jalen's known Brian Johnson since he was 4 years old.
Yep.
So you can't have a much closer relationship than the two of them have. And he's the godfather of A.J. Brown's one of his kids.
Yep.
So if A.J. Brown or one of the receivers is unhappy, they would tell Jalen, and the communication lines would seem to get adjusted here. So I don't quite understand what's going on if that's the case.
I agree with you. One of the things people said today, a lot of people are moving toward Braden Mann being elevated to the starting quarterback role. He's 1-for-1 this year for 28 yards to Olamide Zacarias from St. Joe Prep. What do you think? The fake punt might kind of got lost in the shuffle, kind of like if you had a birthday on December 7th, 1941. Not a lot of people be talking about it, but what do you think of that fake punt?
I thought it was great. It was perfect timing. You would think that would have been a momentum switcher, but did they fumble after that?
I think that was the first drive, wasn't it? Where Jalen fumbled, 7-0.
You guys keep talking. I'll check the.
All right.
My
check the game notes.
Here.
Eagles fumbled 3 times, twice in the red zone. Mike, obviously, while Damo's looking for that, you want the other team to get off the field. You want them to punt. And third downs, Dallas yesterday 9 for 16. Eagles last in the league. How frustrating is it to stop a team on first down, stop a team on second down, and watch them convert on third down time after time after time?
Oh, it's brutal. It's the worst. Because the thing you want more than anything else is to sit down and rest, and you can't. So it's a whole nother set of problems. So then when your offense is not out there long enough, you then get back on the field again, and you're exhausted. So there's a lot that goes into play there.
Research department finished their task.
They have, and the results are that was late in the first quarter, early second. The fake punt kept alive the drive that ended up with them scoring a field goal to make it.
That was a special teams
10-3
series.
Right.
Remember this: touchdowns win games, field goals win scoring titles for kickers.
I have a question for Mike. Mike, we talked about the pass rush earlier. When you look at this pass rush over this season, what do you see right now? Is it just the quarterbacks are getting it out faster than they can get to them? Are they not as effective? Are guys getting tired? I mean, they've got a rookie in there, and Jalen Carter, who looked fine on that fumble recovery running down the field.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, what do you? They're not getting the sacks right now, and I'm wondering what's going on.
It appears that the quarterbacks are getting it out quicker, and they're not winning the one-on-one battles as much as they should. So I mean, it's just a point of a schematical thing. Maybe they got to come in with a little bit more pressure blitzes type of thing to free up some of those rushers and then keep them guessing. So
they used a couple fire zone blitzes yesterday, and they backfired every time. I mean, I think one of the, I want to say they had a 32-yard completion on one. When they blitz, it generally hasn't worked. They don't, they probably don't practice it a whole lot because it's not a big part of. I mean, Sean Desai is a disciple of Vic Fangio, and I mean they're relying on a 4-man rush.
All right, so basically, guys, the defense didn't play well. The offense fumbled too much. A lot of problems in between. The coaching, the fans are upset. Seattle looms a week ahead of time. We have the show next week. Damo, when Nick Sirianni gets the guys together Tuesday, Wednesday, obviously a Monday week's a little bit different. What's his first point of emphasis to put this one behind you, the San Francisco game behind you, and move ahead? Because the winning is to be done now, regardless of what happened already.
Yeah. Obviously after the San Francisco game, I think he just kind of said, we are going to put this one behind us. He, patted him on the butt, said we just had a bad day. I don't think he's going to be as kind this week. I think he's going to ream them out pretty good and tell them they need to play better, that the coaches need to coach better. And he's right. I mean, the blame is shared by everybody, but you got to protect the ball. That's the most first and foremost with that offense. You can't turn it over.
Protect the ball, score in the red zone, third downs. Mike, everybody knows about Ray Rhodes and some of his famous diatribes, which can't be mentioned here, but we only got a minute or so left. Andy Reid, we got to do a better job, blah, blah, blah. That's not what he said behind closed doors. You were with Andy Reid, a couple disappointing losses. Could Andy, not that he's going to curse, but could he launch with the best of them?
I never really remember Andy going bananas on anything, really. He was pretty even-keeled, and he had his message, and it was well received.
All right, and he did pretty well with it, and let's hope that Nick Sirianni's. I always say, Damo, I judge people by anybody can sail in clear seas. When the iceberg comes on the horizon, what are you going to do? That to me defines human beings. I don't care what you do for a living. Nick Sirianni's first iceberg right here, huh?
Yeah. We'll see how they respond. Yeah.
Yep. All right. That'll set the word for tonight. Had a good time. Doesn't help. What we do or anything like that. Eagles just got to do it. Can't worry about what anybody thinks. Just get a solo mentality. Us for all, one for all for one in that locker room, and go out in Seattle where they haven't won since 2008. Of course, they haven't played every year, and go get a win against the desperate Seahawks, who probably be without Geno Smith. We've had a great time tonight. What?
That'll help.
Yeah, it will be, because they didn't look great yesterday against San Francisco, but they didn't play that poorly either. Yeah. Mike Mamula has been our guest tonight. A lot of fun having you, Mike.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks for doing this.
Let's do it again next year, and best of luck in your new title career.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Damo. Let's saddle up again and preview next Monday night's Seattle game with Ray Didinger. Thanks for tonight, and congratulations on your daughter Allison's wedding, and all good things.
Thanks, and looking forward to seeing you next week.
All right, thank you very much. A lot of people to thank. Chris Summer produced this fine program. Stephen Lawler back at the station, spun the knobs and the dials and pushed all the right buttons. Thank you for coming out. Thanks to Damos and my wives for coming out for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff here from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. We say have a good one, everybody. There's always another week. Go Eagles!
You're listening to 1490 WBCB, Levittown, Fairless Hills, Trenton, and now heard as well on FM at 107.3 FM, W297CL, Levittown.